It's happened. It's happened. The webinar began. Right this minute, we are in the webinar. And we've been in webinars before, but this is a special one. This is day 28 of the 55 days. Now, it's special for a lot of reasons. But one is, last week, I gave you so much in terms of inspiration and possibility and understanding of mindset that we all determined together you don't have any excuses at all. With that said, you know what happened this week? People were sending me excuses. I'd love to, but. I want to, but. I had an incident. Can I start over? So questions are good. And the question of how do I get rid of these excuses is a really good one, and I have the answer. You need the transformative tool that ensures excellence, and I'm going to give it today. See, nobody ever gave you that tool before. But before we get to the tool, I want to do a quick review because we are in the phase of the program where we're focusing on fat burning. And as we're doing that, some of you experienced protein days this week. How'd you do with the protein days, by the way? Because there's more to come. We'll talk more about that, but if you want to post something in the little chat window, I'm watching. Quick review, fat is good. Cell membranes are made up of fat. I spoke about little hormonal messengers that are made of and require fat. I told you that your sex hormones are manufactured using fat as a raw material. Subcutaneous fat, the fat under your skin that so many people hate, in the right amount is actually very protective. And visceral fat, the fat that we hear is really bad and leads to a heart attack, also protects your internal organs. So fat is good, except when it's bad. And when is it bad? When you have too much. And you can have too much under the skin, which makes it unsightly and unhealthy. And if you're not exercising, it affects your posture and affects your internal organs. And then we have the visceral fat, which is active fat and probably not active in your favor, or at least not in favor of your health. So the goal in this phase of the program is to get rid of the fat so that you have a really ideal body composition. Composition, meaning how much of your body is made up of fat versus lean body mass. And lean body mass would be everything other than fat. So we know the ideal percentages, and you could also tell, when you have the right body composition, people say, hey, you look really good. If you're a woman, you wear a sleeveless shirt, people go, hey, you look really good. And if you're a guy and you take your shirt off on the beach, you know what it looks like to have the right body composition. And then there's the thoroughbred body composition. But what we don't want is the kind that makes people feel like they're stuck in an unhealthy place. Honestly, nobody needs to be stuck. But you cannot get unstuck if you're going to have excuses. So one of the things I taught you about already is we took mindset and we broke it into muscles, metaphorically. The RAS, the PFC, and the EEM. The RAS, I told you, is like the GPS in your car, but it's your internal GPS, your reticular activating system. So part of the exercises I shared with you last time we met was I said, rather than just going with your old programming, take some time today to set your RAS for tomorrow. Were you guys able to do that? Were you really able to find the discipline to say, okay, it's Tuesday, I know that if I don't set my RAS for success tomorrow, I'm going to do the same thing I always do. I'm going to wander around aimlessly. Half my day will be done, and I'll say I'll start tomorrow. But if you actually took some time and you said, in the morning, I'm going to wake up, do my exercise program, I'm preparing my food so I can make breakfast at 9 o'clock, well, you probably found it easier to do. So this is really important. But this, too, comes with a challenge. People go, well, I'm not used to it, so I don't do it. In other words, you're not programmed to design your program. So how do you start programming if it's not in your programs, right? I understand that. I do. So in order to answer that, we need to understand not only mindset, but we need to understand a little bit about the brain. And if you're looking at your screen, there are three sections of the brain that we're about to talk about: the neocortex, the limbic system, and the reptile brain. And the neocortex, that's the human mammal part of us. We can think and we can reason, and our neocortex can figure things out and do puzzles. and it relies heavily on words, both in terms of programming and in terms of its communication. You can memorize the words of a song. You can memorize a history lesson. Because your neocortex is evolved far above the reptilian brain. You can form arguments preparing for debates. You can choose a side. You can pick your politics. You can change your politics. You can carefully weigh out decisions. You could look at what's in your bank account. You could be smart about something. You can rationalize. You can go, I know I should, but maybe I shouldn't. That's all the function of this very evolved part of the brain called the neocortex. Now, when it comes to influence, salespeople often make a mistake. They speak directly to your intellect right out of the gate. So they go, let me tell you why you should invest in this. It's a really way. And the problem is, we don't start with our neocortex. We start with our reptilian brain. In other words, if somebody approaches and wants to influence you or sell you something or be your friend, we don't immediately go to analyzing what they're saying. We first size them up as if we were reptiles, and you'll see what I mean in a moment. So the neocortex is where we think and reason and we compare and we assess. The limbic system is more where emotions are processed. And the limbic system gets programmed. We attach emotions to things. That's why something happens in our life that's experiential. We attach an emotion to it, and then we are protected from doing that thing again and again and again because the emotion is stored. So the limbic system can be very reactive. And there's something called the amygdala that serves as a gateway that decides what should get in and what should not. So the limbic system acts upon the nervous system and the endocrine system, but it is driven by emotion. So it can dictate what the nervous system should do, and it could also dictate what your hormones should do. But it's not based on all the things on the right. That's the neocortex. It's based on emotion. And then we get to the reptilian brain. And I said we start with the reptilian brain. So if you meet somebody, you go through this very quick assessment, and you're not in thinking mode, you're in reptile mode. The reptilian brain is really about survival. So anything primal that is instinctive, that happens really quickly, that happens because it will either keep you alive or keep your species alive, is reliant only upon the reptilian brain. So when a reptile is sitting on a rock and something shows up, the reptile's brain has to decide, should I eat this thing? Should I mate with this thing? Should I fight this thing? Or should I run from this thing? So understand, when a salesperson starts trying to sell you something and you're in reptilian mode, that's what you're facing. You're going, okay, should I eat this person? Should I mate with this person? Should I fight this person? Should I run? So as this person's talking to your intellect, you're not hearing it. You're just thinking, I want to get away from him. I want to run. He's annoying me. So the different brain functions allow us to utilize our programmed mindset to act in a way that will lead to outcomes. Now, if we had power over not only mindset, but over the way these brain parts communicate, well, we would have greater control over our outcomes. Is that something you'd like? Answer in the chat window. Would you like true control over your outcomes? If we're talking about the brain and we're talking about the mind, they're separate. The brain is tangible, the mind is not. But they're very closely related when we talk about function and thought. Parts of the brain inhabit or contain parts of the mind. So if we're talking about the mind, we would have to split it in two. We would say we have the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. The conscious mind is what we would consider the thinking mind. When we think, we use words. So if right now you're checking to see if that's true, you're asking yourself, am I using words? Those are words. And you're asking yourself questions. Is he making sense? So you're consciously aware of the processing that's taking place right now. Your subconscious mind is different. You're not aware of your subconscious mind, but it's handling everything. It's handling your heartbeat right now. You don't think about it. You don't go, wait a minute, let me be conscious and make my heart beat 72 times this minute. It's taken care of. So your subconscious mind doesn't need to be recognized. It's just doing its thing. It's running programs. And it pulls together these primal reptilian actions like mate or run or fight. And it takes the thoughts and experiences and emotions that you see and feel and touch and your five senses bring you, and it forms the programs. But it does it below your conscious level. So this is the challenge. Consciously, you say, I would like A, B, and C, but if your subconscious mind is not programmed for that, you get X, Y, and Z. So imagine that you get this really cool futuristic car, and you set the program so that on Main Street it makes a right. And you're all excited about your beautiful new car, and it is so powerful. And you get in the car and you push the button, and now it's going to do exactly what it was programmed to do. It's going to go to Main Street and make a right. And as you're on your way, you have a thought. And you go, well, I think I want to make a left on Main Street. And you try grabbing the steering wheel and turning it. The challenge is the program's already running. The car's already in motion. And you don't have the strength to override a car once it's programmed. So you can use all of your strength and all of your will and all of your muscle, and you're trying to make that left. But you can't. And what does that lead to? Exhaustion. Working against your programs will lead to exhaustion, and you will fail. See, the worst part of this whole scenario is you wind up somewhere than you wanted to be because your programs took you there. And that's kind of the relationship between your conscious awareness and your subconscious programming. This is not new science. This is not the wonders of 21st century psychology. Plato said the human mind is like a chariot drawn by two horses. The rider, the charioteer, we can call you in terms of your reasoning ability. So you decide where you want to go, you decide on an outcome. But you're pulled by these two horses. One of the horses is desire. So reason and desire get together and they go, I want this thing. I want to eat right, I want to eat clean, I want to do protein days, I want to do all of this stuff so that I could have a beautiful body. But the other horse is emotion. And emotion is so very strong. And emotion, he'll play along. You know, when reason and desire get together, emotion goes, oh yeah, sounds good. I feel okay about that. But then if you're headed toward a great outcome and emotion says, I would love a cheeseburger and a milkshake, the charioteer and the other horse are not strong enough to stop emotion. So emotion just goes. So emotion is the stronger horse, and when it is spirited by strong emotion like anger or lust or what Plato called hot-bloodedness, it overrides reason, it overrides desire, and it takes control of the direction of the charioteer. So rationally, consciously, you can make a very, very good plan. But unless your programming is set for that outcome, it ain't going to happen. So today, the question that we're considering is, how can I manifest what I really want? Manifest is a word, it's very overused. I know it's used a lot in The Secret. You know, it's used in magic. It's used in occult. It's used as if it's this incredible power that people have to just suddenly make something appear. It is an incredible power. And it does make something appear. But it is 100% natural, and it is fully within the power of every single one of us willing to understand it. So manifest means a thing becomes apparent to the senses. You could see it, you could touch it, you can smell it, you can feel it. But was it there before? Well, theoretically, yes, even if it was simply a thought. The thought evolved to the point that it became tangible. The thought manifested an outcome. The invisible, because we can't see the thought, was made visible. So was it real when it was invisible? It's a good question. What do you think? Is it real when it's invisible? If you're sitting there really meditating, Ariel, really thinking, really forming in your mind an outcome, at what point does it become real? In the scenario I just gave you, was the car's destination visible in the moment the driver sat down? No. He wasn't even at Main Street yet. Couldn't see the destination. Was the force and direction of the car visible to the driver? No. But was it real? Yeah. He couldn't grab the steering wheel and turn it. So for now, let's consider that manifesting an outcome calls upon real but invisible natural forces to drive actions and result into outcomes. Well, Phil, how can a force be real if it's invisible? Is the wind real? Is gravity real? Unfortunately, so many people are just shut down by parents, by teachers, by mentors who are giving them a flawed idea that we cannot create. It is what it is. What a horrible thought. It is what it is. How much better is the thought, it is what I make it? Because then you can utilize this invisible force to create what you want to create. So I want to take a quick pulse. I want to know if you guys are just sitting there blank going, I don't know what he's talking about, subconscious manifestation, what is that? Or if you're nodding your head and you're going, yeah, this is making sense. Are you saying I'm supposed to be invisible? I want to know if you're getting it. So just give me like an amen or a thumbs up or a yes, I get it, or a something. Nodding head is good. Thank you, Kristen. Holly gets it. So here's where we have to start. To make it real, you have to choose what it is. It can't be real unless you choose it. So what is your outcome? For those of you who ever bought a new house, the house existed in your mind before you bought it. It might have been somewhere else. You just couldn't see it. It was an invisible force that led you to it, that led you along the process, the actions you took to get the house to make it your own. If you walked into a house and there was nothing in it, and you envisioned how it would be furnished, and then a month later, 2 months later, 3 months later, it was furnished exactly as you pictured it, you simply manifested the invisible. So just as you would choose the house, just as you would choose the decorations, just as you would choose the car you want to drive, the office you want to operate out of, the store you want to open someday, the dinner you want to have, choose your outcome. Because today, you're going to get this power. You have to decide what you really want to achieve. And I know you've heard this before, but so many people are so limited, they'll go, well, I just don't want to be this fat anymore. That's not an outcome. That's a nothing. That doesn't change your programming. That's a statement. It's flying around your cerebral cortex for a little while, and it just goes away. So we are now going through this 55-day program. Some of you have capitalized on it from day one. And some of you have had 1 foot in and 1 foot out and 2 feet in and 2 feet out and back and forth. Make today the day. Make today the day that you really choose an outcome. What do you want? If you're really bold, you'll even post it in the chat window. If you're really bold, whatever the outcome that you want is, you'll post it in there. If you don't want me to read it out loud, just say don't read, and I won't read it out loud. But at least it's making a statement. I don't want to tell the whole story, but one of my favorite events of all time was the 1969 Super Bowl where Joe Namath won. And I say Joe Namath won, I didn't say the New York Jets won, because it started with Joe Namath making a statement. He said, I guarantee a win. He said it to the press. Now, back then, there was no Facebook, social media, but it was every newspaper said crazy quarterback from Alabama with a bad knee, playing for the lesser team, going up against Don Shula's Colts, says he guarantees a win. That, in my mind, is when the game was won. So there's something about the public statement that moves you a little closer to true commitment. So if anybody's bold enough, just post your public statement. So now we are in week 5, which brings us to day 28. We're continuing in this fat burning process. We're going to change the exercise routine. We're moving away from the functional 6, although it's still included. And we're incorporating all-out bursts in something called sprints. And whatever you did last week with glycogen depletion, you're going to do a little bit more so that we can optimize fat loss. I know some people are here tonight that weren't here before. So you might feel a little behind. You're going, well, I don't really know everything he's talking about. It's okay. If you're only just beginning, you can go right to the kickoff as soon as we finish this. So how do you do that? You go into the group. You go to the topics, you click on webinars with Phil Kaplan, and then you'll find all the webinars. You just go down to the one that says kickoff, and all the material is there in the group for you to begin at the beginning. Or, if you're just beginning, I'm going to give you another option. You can just jump in where we are right now, and that's okay. So either way, up to you. If you feel like, oh, well, I missed a lot, then go back to the kickoff. And if you're like, I'm excited, I really want to do this, I want to play along, then you can jump in right now. And tonight's presentation will prepare you, and all week long, the coaches will coach you forward. So in this week, we're focusing on recomposition, reducing fat, increasing or maintaining lean body mass. I'm going to introduce you to an exercise concept called supersets. Holden's going to love to work with you on this week, as will Holly. Cardio with all-out bursts, and we're adding in sprints. We're going to continue with protein days, but I'm going to teach you something wonderful, super compensation. It's a really good thing. And we're going to create the condition where you manifest your future. But you've got to start with a future memory. So here it is. Welcome to Manifesting Monday. Tasso mentioned it today. Ariel mentioned it today. We might have had Billy mention it in some kind of weird accent. But there was a little buzz. Here we are. Because the manifestation happens tonight. It may be invisible tonight, but that doesn't mean it's not real. You're going to sow your outcome tonight. Sow an act, and you reap a habit, sow a habit, and you reap a character, sow a character, and you reap a destiny. That's from As a Man Thinketh. Now, here's a quote that I'm putting in front of you. It's a quote from me, but this is the third time I'm putting it in front of you. So either I just don't have enough quotes, or maybe it's important. So for the third time, a person is limited only, this is a big word here, only by the thoughts that he or she chooses. So you will choose better thoughts, and you will get better outcomes. Man, when I was 17-ish, I guess, there was an agency called ACON. It was like AAAAACON because it was first in the phone book. And it was an agency where snowbirds would come down to Florida because they'd live here in the winter. But they didn't want to drive. They would fly. So this agency would find drivers for the car. So me and my friends would call ACON, and get this, they would pay you to drive someone else's car down to Florida. So we found out about this thing called spring break. Now, I wasn't aware of this before until the first time I saw it, and it changed my life. So much so that I now live in Florida. But we would get our car in New York. We would show up dressed really nicely and be really polite because you can trust us with your car, man. And we would drive down I-95 to get to spring break, and this became a ritual that we would do every year. And ultimately, we'd bring the car to the car wash, and we'd have to run it through twice, and we'd get vacuums, but we'd return the car, and we'd get paid. It was beautiful. I don't know if Acon still exists. I doubt it, but it was a good thing, for me anyway. So we would take 95, and as we're going toward the Carolinas, you start to see these signs for south of the border. And I think they probably start about 55 miles away. And then like 2 miles later, you see another one. And then a mile later, you see another one. And you're watching and you're going, wow, this has got to be the greatest place. I can't wait till we get to south of the border. It's got to be amazing. Chili today, hot tamale. South of the border, 23 miles. South of the border, they had signs, they had steaks, they had toys, they had games, they had rides. Has anybody made this trip? Pedro says, you never sausage a place. You're always a wiener. 10 miles. We're almost there. By the way, Scott and Debbie and Cole, I just want you to know you're private messaging me, which is okay. But if you set it on send to all, then everybody will see it. So if you're doing that intentionally, that's okay. I just want you to know that. Now you get to south of the border, and man, you're excited. You're anticipating. It's like 8 miles, 7 miles, 6 miles. You get there, and it's nothing. It's a rest stop. It's incredibly disappointing because all of this buildup, and then there's Pedro, and he's a big guy with a sign, and then there's like little shops and a gas station, and I think a Ferris wheel that never works. So what's so great about getting to south of the border? I'll tell you what, it's halfway. It's the halfway point. So after your first time that you go through it, you're disappointed, but now you're looking forward to it because you go, we're halfway there. And it feels good because you feel like you're making progress. Like until you're halfway, you don't really feel like you're getting anywhere, but now you get to south of the border, you go, okay, now we only have half the way to go. Guess what? That's where we are right now. We are at the halfway point. If you've been with me since day one, if you've been being coached since the beginning of the 55 days, if you've been hanging with Brasilia and Ariel and Holly and Tony, day 28 means we have 27 days to go. Now, if your thoughts will manifest, how many thoughts can you sum it up for the next 27 days? Because now you got some power. Now that you realize we're halfway there, you have some power. So I'm going to share with you, this is not the Tao. Don't yell at me for my pronunciation because I'm aware that if we're talking about Eastern culture, this would be pronounced Tao, but this is different. This is Tao. The Tao of Manifesting. Tao is an acronym. The first word, thoughts. The thoughts that you think will lead to the actions that you take. If you think rotten thoughts, you'll take rotten actions or no actions at all. So we have thoughts, actions, and then the actions that you take will determine your outcome. So if you want to manifest anything, it is reliant upon your thoughts and your actions. Your outcome is reliant on your actions. Your actions are reliant upon your thoughts. So if you keep thinking the same old thoughts, you're going to do the same old things and you're going to get the same old outcome. And nobody here wants the same old outcome. Am I right? So I'm going to give you a tool that looks like this. I'm not going to give you a journal. You have that already. And if you're new, this is the first investment you make, the journal. You can get a really nice one, or you can get a little cheap one. It's equal. Doesn't matter. It just needs to have blank pages that you can write in with a pen. If you want to ask the question, can I just use the Notes app in my phone? No. Honestly, you need to write. There's a strengthening of the neural pathways, the neural links that take place when you write. So as old-fashioned as it may be, get a journal and a pen. And you're going to take this tool and you're going to place it on the upper left of the open journal. And you're going to do this every single day. Religiously, like you brush your teeth. Everything below that tool are things you want to change. Everything on the clean, fresh page to the right is programming your subconscious. So this is the power. Now, you may recognize the circle of discontent and the future memory as your creative tension. If you remember, I told you the line that runs between where you are now and where you want to be is like a bungee cord. And if you don't believe that future memory will be real, the bungee cord will snap and you're stuck in your circle. But if you really develop the belief that the future memory is very simply an outcome that hasn't happened yet, that bungee cord becomes elastic and it has momentum and it literally pulls you there. So this tool will allow you to document your thoughts and turn them into the right actions. Thoughts, actions, outcome. Now, I've given you a lot, and I'm telling you this is the pinnacle. When you have this tool, which you're going to have in a moment, I'm going to send it to you, there's no excuse at all anymore ever. Because the only thing I could do other than this is come to your house and force you to do it. And there are 5,000 people in this group. And plus, I'm sheltering at home. So I have to say, this is it. I'm giving you the tool that will change everything. And then you literally just zip right up to your outcome. This will help you gain control of the relationship between your RAS, your PFC, and your EEM. You don't even have to think about them anymore. It's just going to happen automatically. But it starts with your thoughts. So what do thoughts start with? What are the building blocks? I could say amino acids are the building blocks of protein or the building blocks of muscle. So what are the building blocks of thought? Anybody have a guess? The building blocks of thoughts are words. Now, I told you that the limbic system operates on emotions, and the reptilian system operates on instinct. So they don't rely heavily on words. But most of the time, you're in your conscious mind when you're awake. And your conscious mind uses words. They are the building blocks of your thoughts. And right now, you have neural bridges in your mind that replay words over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. They get locked in until you interrupt the patterns, until you literally remove them and replace them with better thoughts. So when we talk about your programming, if your thoughts are, I'll never be fit, I'll never lose weight, nothing works for me, I always fall short, someone always gets picked before me, I have bad genes, I'll never, if you're harboring those thoughts cyclically, those will determine your actions. Rotten thoughts, rotten actions. So you got to change your thoughts. You got to get rid of those. Now, I told you there are three parts of the brain, and in order to change the other two, we've got to start with thoughts, so we've got to start with words. So imagine that you're transmitting knowledge or information from one brain part to another. Or imagine you're transferring information from yourself to someone else. What would you use to transfer the knowledge and the expression of all that you've learned? You would use visuals. You would use feelings. You would use tastes and smells, and you would use words. But ultimately, if you want to transmit the visuals, the feelings, the tastes and smells, you would have to tell somebody about them. So ultimately, words themselves lie at the core of moving knowledge from one person to another or from one brain part to another if we're going from the neocortex in. That makes sense. Give me a yes if it does, or if you need me to go over it again, I will. from these thoughts, we form our beliefs. So a belief is really nothing more than a thought set in motion cyclically, and it'll stay in motion until you interrupt it. It's hard for me to believe, and I don't want to start an argument with anybody here. My neocortex doesn't have the strength for it right now. But it's hard for me to believe that people really believe the world is flat. If there are any flat earthers here, honestly, I don't want to debate it right now. But what I will say is, at least some of them really believe it. Because they have words in their head that rationalize. Well, here are pictures from space that show that the Earth is round. How do you know those pictures were taken from space? So when you get words in your head and they become thoughts and they become beliefs, they get stuck. And too many people are too stuck because they are attached to their EEM. The EEM wants to protect them, so it forbids them from doing things that are risky. And if somebody's tried to lose weight and failed, and tried to lose weight and failed, tried to lose weight and failed, the EEM says, oh no, that causes pain, don't try that anymore. So it stops the person short by sending words into their neocortex. What words? I can't. And that becomes a belief. Can you lose weight? No. Listen, I know this to be true because I meet these people all the time. And thankfully, I've had the opportunity to convert many of them through what I'm about to share with you. But as long as they hold on to that belief, it's true. Nothing works. I can't lose weight. I could show them evidence of hundreds, thousands of people who've changed their bodies, but as long as they hold on to the belief, I can't, nothing's going to penetrate. So the first step in the process is getting them to change their words from I can't to I should. Now, when they say I should, it's an acknowledgement. They go, I really should. It's not healthy to be like this. And now they're going into conscious mind, rational thought. But the EM is really strong, so it tags the word but on the end. So they'll acknowledge I should make a change, but nothing works for me. But at least they've taken a little tiny baby step out of their circle. When we get beyond I should to I can, now they can form a future memory. Until they can get to I can, they can't form the future memory. So the exercise that people who are really that stuck have to do is work on creating that future memory. And what they run into is I can't. But then they'll break through to I should. And when they say I should, now they can at least go, I should be 10 pounds lighter. Beautiful. Create the future memory. What would life be like if you were 10 pounds lighter? And now we start to get new electricity going in their prefrontal cortex. And it moves from I can to I will. And once they feel like I will, and this is a very real possibility, then they start to think about their circle of discontent. They go, I'm miserable, I'm unhappy, my life sucks, I must do this. So this is a hierarchy that you have control over. So here's the process for you to do every single day for the next 27 days. I can say I challenge you to do this, but more, I insist you do this if you really want an outcome, because it will work. There's nothing that can stop you if you do this. So you need to set aside some time. At a minimum, 10 minutes. If you're really going to invest time in it, 30. I think for some of you, 10 will become 30. You'll set aside 10, but you'll start to enjoy the process, because when you're a kid, you love to daydream because you're experiencing it. Do you ever have like a great dream, and then you wake up and you go, oh, I'm not really Superman. And then you want to go back into the dream, but you can't quite get there? Well, what you're doing is you're creating that dream, so it's fun. So the first thing you do is you identify the monsters and the EEM limits. You identify the can'ts, because you can't really get rid of them until you acknowledge that they're there. Listen, I can't change my thinking because I don't have those thoughts. See, that would be really stuck thinking. So you've got to catch yourself. And we would have to point that out. Well, you just said I can't change my thinking. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, well, I can't change that. Oh, there you go again. So the first thing you have to do is at least acknowledge that you have those thoughts. I can't journal every day. Okay, then start with that. That's the first step. Take out your tool and write. I can't journal every day, and now you're on your way. I'm just asking you to identify. Now we go to the other extreme of the creative tension. Now you start to describe your future memory. Now, why should you do this every day? Because you're going to connect to it. The first day you're going to go, I'm thinner, wearing the old outfit that I used to wear. It's not real compelling. It really hasn't done anything in your limbic system, but you started a process. Now, the next day, you're doing this exercise with your tool, and now you go, you know what, I'm 22 pounds lighter, and I'm fitting into my old outfit. And I have energy. And from day to day, it gets more real, and you color it, and you make it multisensory, and you start to create a moment in time. So you do this every day for minutes. So first, you identify the monsters in the EEM. Then you go right to the future memory. And then you acknowledge the gap. Now, remember I said people are stuck until they have evidence. So you need a little bit of evidence to get you up the hierarchy. So you have to answer the question, how do you know it's possible? And if you say, I can't, then you're just going to write that at the bottom of the page. But sooner or later, you'll find evidence. I can because I lost 10 pounds 2 summers ago. Okay, let's start with that. I can because I know if I buy better food in the grocery store, I'll lose some weight. Okay, good. I can because all the things Phil says not to do, I already do. So if I change it, I'll lose weight. Okay? So how do you know it's possible? And then you're going to write 3 statements, I can, I will, I must. Those are the building blocks of belief. From there, you create your action plan. And then you do a very simple meditation right before you go to bed, and Ariel shared it with you as a warm-up today. If you haven't seen it, you should go back and watch it. So you take your tool, and you put it right in the upper left corner. Now, at first, if you need a separate page, you can do this. And you just follow the instructions. So the first thing you'll do is you'll identify the monsters and the EM links, and you write it on the left-hand page underneath that tool. This is not a truth. This is a limiting belief. And then you'll scribble through it. You'll cross it out. You'll do some action that works to erase it. Because your subconscious mind is being programmed by that. You're changing the program by scribbling through that flawed belief. Not in a moment, but certainly over 27 days. Now you're going to draw your rectangle, which represents your future memory, and you're going to write your future memory as if you're living it in the present tense. This is not homework. I'm promising you this is exciting. This is fun. This creates serotonin. This will give you a dopamine spurt. This will create endorphins. Like, this is the best, healthiest, and cheapest way to get high. For real. Next, you acknowledge the gap. You say, okay, that's my future memory. Now, what's going on in my circle of discontent? And you just make some notes to acknowledge it. Now, remember, you're going to get away from this. So don't be afraid to acknowledge what's really going on now. The left-hand page you never have to look at again. It's the right-hand page that's setting your programs. From there, you answer the question, how do you know the outcome is possible? This might take you a little bit of time at first, but then you'll find evidence. You'll see things that you've done in the past, or things others like you have done, or something your brother has done, or your sister has done. If you're not seeing the evidence right away, it's because you're blocked. Why are you blocked? Monsters and the EEM and a weak PFC, and that's all going to change. Next, you go to your I can, I will, I must. These are firm statements. This is reprogramming your belief system. And then with this new material driving you forward, you create your action plan for tomorrow. So if some of you said, okay, I wanted to program my RAS for tomorrow, but I'm not programmed to program my RAS, this is the programming. So you're doing it right there. Honestly, 10 minutes is enough to start. Like if you're looking at this and you're going, I don't want to do that. I just want to get to my workouts. The workouts are brief. The workouts are perfect. 10 minutes to manifest what you really want. Is it worth it? That's a question for you. So this is the tool. This is it. So I'm going to send you this right now. You should see it pop up in the window, and you'll probably get it in an email afterwards, and it'll also be available in the group in the files. So this is the tool. Print it. If you can, print it to the right size so it takes up half of a page. If you want to laminate it, great. This becomes your most valuable possession. It's exactly what you're looking at right here. And it has the steps right on it. You just follow it. So if you look down the page a little bit, you see number 1, identify the monsters and the EM limits, just the way I showed you. At the top of the page, describe the future memory, right up at the top of the other page. If you've known me for years, as many of you have, you know I don't disappoint people. I'm saying that with sincerity. I don't. I go above and beyond. It's my blessing and my curse at times. I wouldn't be sharing this with you if it wasn't an absolute. Over the years, there have been things that I came out with, the concept of synergy, the functional 6, supportive eating, circadian nutrition, and these have become the underpinnings of exercise programs around the world. They stick. This will stick. You're the first to hear of it. This is really powerful stuff. This can change every single thing in your life. You put the tool right at the upper left of your journal, and you simply follow it step by step every single day. So, putting all the pieces together, you're going to eat for anabolism and fuel. We're going to focus this week on losing fat. But let's not forget, you're eating for the development of new tissue and energy. You will exercise adequately, but you will not do too much exercise because you're starting to really understand the balance between stress and recovery. We will create a condition where the body chooses to use fat, so it reduces the body fat that you hold. And now you will program your thoughts, your actions, and your outcomes so your excellence becomes a certainty. So from this moment forward, you have everything you need. You have the eating plan, you have the exercise routine, you have the resource, you have the coaches, and now you have the transformation weapon, the tool of TAO. We're talking about fat loss. I'm going to remind you there are 2 important elements here. We're going to recognize them both this week. We want to create mitochondrial hunger. We're going to manipulate the energy substances that we ingest so our bodies choose to feed the mitochondria of the cell with fat. And we do that by depleting glycogen. So the key here is simultaneously we create mitochondrial hunger through exercise, glycogen depletion through nutritional shifts. So the coaches will walk you through this week, but here's the overview. We are manipulating carbohydrate intake on select days. Phase 1 was aimed at metabolic optimization. We are now in phase 2 of circadian nutrition. In phase 2, we incorporate protein days. The idea is to reduce available glycogen so that our bodies move into a state where they release and burn fat continuously throughout the day. Not in a moment, not only during your exercise, but literally all day. Now, for those people who are here for the first time, if there are some terms I'm using and you're scratching your head, as I told you, you can go back to the very beginning, go back to the kickoff, and you will learn all these things. Or you could simply ask questions in the group and the coaches will bring you up to date. This was the overall sample of the Options for ingredients you could use in meals. On a protein day, we remove the slow-release protein-sparing carbohydrate. So on a protein day, each meal is made up of a serving of protein about 25% larger than you'd normally eat, and some colorful vegetables. There's no potato, there's no quinoa, there's no amaranth, there's no grain. When you do one day eating that way, one protein day, you feel fine because you have glycogen, fuel, stored from the meals you ate the day before. When you get to your second protein day, you feel fine until you hit the point of glycogen depletion. And when you hit glycogen depletion, your brain has a hiccup. It's not dangerous. It's just things like memory and focus take a little bit of a hit because your brain is used to feeding on glucose and you're not giving it any. Not intentionally to mess with your brain, but because you don't have glucose, your muscle mitochondria need something else to eat. And that's what coaxes your body into a state of fat release. On the third protein day, you are glycogen depleted, so your body is releasing a lot of fat and burning it. But some people have a hard time on the third protein day. And if you can't handle it or it's too uncomfortable, I heard Tammy mention this on her show today, then just eat something, carbohydrate, and you'll feel instantly better. Like you don't have to suffer. So if you get to a point you go, you know what, I really have to have a bowl of oatmeal with my next protein, you do it and immediately you're just instantly going to feel recovered. Your brain has fuel. But if you can make it through that third protein day, we now get to the supercompensation day, which is a great day. So if you were doing a protein day today, for example, I know some of you aren't all asked to, but I know some of you are. When you wake up tomorrow, you put the starchy carb, the slow-release natural carbohydrate back in your meal. So you could have your cream of rice cereal with your spinach omelet, and you feel amazing. But when you put the carbohydrate back, you simply add it to the already larger serving of protein. So you keep the protein serving 25% more, just like you would on a protein day. But now you put in a serving of carbohydrate, good carbohydrate, not an energy disruptor, that's 25% larger, a 25% larger bowl of oatmeal. Or hot grains. Or a potato, or sweet potato, or mashed sweet potato, 25% larger. And your muscles literally soak it up, and they draw in more glycogen than they normally hold, and they swell. So if you look in the mirror during your workout, you go, oh my God, I look muscular. Your face looks fuller. People go, oh my God, what are you doing? You look really healthy today. Because every muscle, including the muscles of your face, literally, is holding more glycogen, and that attracts water. And it's not like an edema. You don't look bloated and puffy. You look strong. And the best part of all is you feel strong and sharp and alert. So the supercompensation day is a great day. Now, if you don't do 3 protein days, don't do the supercompensation day. This only works if you're truly in glycogen depletion. So I'm promising you, you're going to love the supercompensation day. So on a supercompensation day, you maintain the larger serving of protein. You add the slow-release carbohydrate. It could be rice or amaranth or quinoa or brown rice, steel-cut oatmeal, wild rice, sweet potato, purple potato, whatever, in an amount 25% larger than you would consume on a regular metabolic eating day. I'm noticing some of the comments, and those people who did supercompensation day, or even today, they're giving testimony here because it feels great. It makes the third protein day worth it. Now, don't think it's a cheat day. It's not. You're staying with the supportive meals. They're just larger servings. So this is not a day that you suddenly have cookies. You don't reward yourself. This is not about suffering and reward. This is about a strategy to bring you to manifest the best you. And whatever supplements you're taking, you can continue. Do you need the EFAs on this day? No, you've got plenty of protein, plenty of fuel, but take it anyway because the EFAs are anti-inflammatory. So you really don't have to micromanage this. You just put back the starchy carb serving and make it a little bigger. So now, last week, I had you do 1, 2, or 3 protein days, depending on how you handled it. If you're really ready now to take this on, this is a major fat-burning week, and you're going to notice a difference in a single week if you follow everything. So beginning tomorrow, protein day, protein day, protein day. Friday is a super compensation day. And then Friday night, you can go out dancing, and you're not going to drink. Oh, wait a minute, you can't. But you're going to stay home and dance. Ariel, maybe this is the week of our dance party, our at-home Zoom dance party. So you're going to really enjoy the way you feel Friday. Saturday is another protein day, but the super compensation day will carry forward. You don't feel bad on a protein day. You just feel depleted on the 3rd protein day. So this should not be hard for most people. And if we are going to gauge it, the hardest days would be Thursday and Monday. So is it worth it? That's up to you. So looking at tomorrow being Tuesday, protein day, protein day, protein day. Then we do a super compensation day, yay. And then protein day, protein day, protein day. And then we're going to shift into something else. So is this worth it? Yes. Is it effective? Yes. If you don't use caffeine, this is a good week to use caffeine because it will amplify fat burning. If you do use caffeine all the time, it's not going to make a difference. Okay, I mentioned that last week. I just want to remind you. All right, so everything I shared with you, your coaches are going to lead you forward. Tammy's been an incredible resource. You know, all of you have the Metabolic Meals recipe book, but what's interesting to me is you don't see the meals until Tammy cooks them. You go, oh my God, that's great. Where do I get the recipe? Well, it's in your book. Oh. But, you know, some of you are visual, and when you see it actually being prepared, you go, oh, I can do that. So this will be a good week for you to rely heavily on her because protein day, protein day, protein day. She's given you some really good options. She already prepared for tomorrow. You know what I'm talking about if you watched her make those little frittata muffins today. They're really good. Tony is going to, you know, I have to say this about Tony. You know, he's a motivator, he's a speaker, he's a trainer, he's all of these great things. But Tony went through my Transform 2020 program, which is similar to what we're doing now. It's a little more intense, a little more regimented. And every week he would report and he was logging and he was tracking. So even though all of the coaches play a specific role here, they've also all followed this. Every one of them has lived through this. So, you know, Tony does his talks like standing in front of the camera, but man, he can take you through this workout as well as anybody can. What workout? Well, we're about to get there. So you have your coaches, rely on them heavily this week. Here's the change in routine. This week we're going to rely on supersets. Supersets, if we look at when Joe Weider coined the term, it was actually 2 different exercises done without rest in between. So it'd be like a pull and a push, a curl and a tricep push down. And he would call 2 movements that relied on the same muscles a compound set. But today, superset just kind of means 2 exercises performed back to back. So when I say supersets, there are 2 exercises performed back to back. You're going to get routine A, which you'll do tomorrow, routine B, which you'll do the following day, and then routine C will feel familiar because it's the functional 6. And the functional 6 is a great routine for recovery. A lot of people will tell you you have to take a day off after weight training. You don't. But the beauty of the functional 6 is you're moving the body, in essence, the way the body was designed to move. So you can actively recover. You can release any lactic acid buildup. So routine A, followed by routine B. Both of those rely on supersets. They're pretty intense. And then the 3rd day, you go to the functional 6. But I'm not going to say that'll be easy. It's just familiar. On every day, after you finish your routine, you will do cardio, including an all-out burst, including a sprint, which is something we're adding this week, and then a cool down. So routine A looks like this. This first movement, and you could use a variation of it, and Holly will modify it. But for those of you who are up for it, this is a stability ball wall squat. You put a ball behind you, and you're leaning back into it. So this is calling upon a lot of balance and stability as you work the quads and the glutes and the large muscles at the pelvic complex. But you're going to have a dumbbell in each hand, And as you lower your body, you raise the dumbbells. Now, what's really interesting is the dumbbells don't move. You move. The dumbbells kind of stay at the same elevation. You just lower your body down. So it's a really good exercise because it's testing your center of gravity as you're leaning back, pulling you forward. It's a really, really strong, effective exercise that contracts a lot of muscle, and that's what we're looking for glycogen depletion, mitochondrial hunger. That's why we're starting with that one. And you superset that with a stiff leg deadlift. So the thoroughbred will do a squat with the front raise, 12 to 15 repetitions to momentary muscle failure. Then we'll immediately go into 12 to 15 repetitions of the stiff leg deadlift. And then we'll take about a minute and do another superset. And we'll take about another minute and do another superset. And now the thoroughbred will move on to the next pair of movements. The hip roll you recognize from the functional 6. But you will also do another exercise where you pass the ball. You bring the ball over your head, touch it to the ground, and then you lift your legs and pass it off so it's between your feet, and you lower it to the ground. So you will feel this in your core, especially those thoroughbreds who do 3 supersets. And then the third superset, you will do push-ups with your feet on a stability ball. Now, if you're looking at this, you're going, I can't do that. I'm a chrysalis. You can't. Just have the stability ball at your waist. And I remember in physics learning that the longer the lever, the harder it is. So as we get more fit, we just move the ball farther and farther and farther away from your hands. So if you're really athletic, you'll do it with the stability ball. You're on your toes on the stability ball, or you lift one foot. But anybody can do this. And then with that, you will do some sort of a dynamic pull or a reverse lunge pull. Something where you're moving the lower body as you're pulling. Holden will have fun with that one. The second routine is identical, except there's 6 different movements. So superset B1, you're going to do something using the upper body to pull, followed by some sort of a shrug or an upright row. The second superset, it's a side lateral raise, followed by an overhead press sitting on an unstable surface. And the third is something working the pull muscles of the arms, the biceps, and the elbow flexors. And then you're supersetting that with a tricep movement. So I said the thoroughbred will do 3 supersets of each. The phoenix will do 2 supersets of each. And the chrysalis will do 1 superset of each. And I promise you, it's appropriate. Don't try to step up and think it's going to make you more fit. Follow it exactly as it's laid out. And only if you feel like you're recovering really well can you step it up a little bit. And of course, I will always urge you to do that when your body feels ready. Now, momentary muscle failure means exactly that. The thoroughbred will try to select a weight where he or she will hit the point of muscle failure. You cannot possibly do another rep. And that's forcing muscular recovery. That's forcing protein synthesis because you're pushing your body beyond what it's used to, and then you're stopping. So you get 12, 13, and then 14. You're going, I can't. Yes, you can. I got it. And then you can't do another one. Perfect. That's called momentary muscle failure. Now, as soon as you stop the movement, you start to replenish muscular ATP, and you're able to do it again a minute later. The phoenix needs to go to a point of exhaustion. Doesn't need to be that strict momentary muscle failure, but where you're going, oh man, I'm really fatigued. I feel that. Ugh. And the chrysalis will just step up to, I'm tired. Okay, so that just becomes your general gauge. Remember, the third day you'll do the functional 6, so all of this should now look familiar. I don't have to walk you through it. It's the different sequences for thoroughbred, phoenix, and chrysalis. The addition here is we're adding in a sprint. So the difference between a sprint and an all-out burst is an all-out burst is more intense. An all-out burst is as fast as you can, as hard as you can, based on your own perception. There's a great old exercise machine called the Schwinn Airdyne. Some of you will know what I'm talking about. It's a stationary bicycle, but it also has handles that move as the pedals move. And the front wheel is like a fan, so it has its own resistance built in. And the reason that that's really good is because it's simple to move into an all-out burst. Like on a treadmill, you can't move into an all-out burst instantly because you have to wait for the speed to speed up or the incline to go up. But on the Schwinn Airdyne, you just go bam, 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 bam. So if anybody has access to one of those, it's great to use. I know very few of you do. But I'm sharing that because it becomes very clear what all-out means. You're hitting it as hard as you can, as fast as you can. And if I'm coaching, I'm going faster, faster, faster. 12 seconds, it's all you got. When you hit that 12-second mark and I go, bring it back down, you couldn't have done 13 seconds. It's really an all-out burst. A sprint is different. A sprint, you anticipate. You go, what intensity can I maintain for 30 seconds? So if anybody here is a distance runner, even a short distance runner, you know how you have to know when to kind of conserve your fuel. So a sprint is a little more fuel conservation because you have to maintain it for 30 seconds. So it's a higher output, but not for 12 seconds and not all out. So here's the routine. I've just uploaded this to the group. So I uploaded it. You could download it. So this one page gives you the whole routine. I'll also load the whole presentation up there, all the slides from tonight. Ariel commented, said, except don't say I can't. And I'm guessing she's referring to when I was saying, were you referring to when I was doing the routine? I was going, I can't. Oh, or maybe you were referring to Holden when he said can't wait. Oh, you were when I was going, I can't. Okay, so understand this. Can't can be momentary. When we're talking about momentary muscle failure, you do go to that point of it is not possible to get another one, but here's the beauty of mindset. Next workout, you want to do another one. See, it doesn't become a belief. It becomes a moment that you override. So the whole idea of momentary muscle failure is taking it to the point that it is not possible to do one more. But that doesn't mean you leave that experience going, I can't do 15 reps with 85 pounds. You leave the experience going, next time I'm going to do 15. Okay, so it's not that we never use the word can't, it's that we never let the word can't become cyclical. We never let the word can't find its way into a belief. But thank you for pointing that out. Okay, so here's the one page that you could download. The whole routine is on here. So the thoroughbreds, 3 supersets of each to momentary muscle failure, 20 minutes cardio. Within the 20 minutes, 2 all-out bursts, 2 sprints, and then a cool down. Phoenix, 2 supersets of each to exhaustion, 18 minutes of cardio, 2 bursts, 1 sprint. So you could follow this, and you see at the bottom of the page, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And then we meet again and take it to the next level. Any thoughts, comments, questions? Here's a quick little summary of what's going to happen this week. You're going to do supersets and the functional 6 in the ABC format. You're going to do your cardio as outlined, but we're going to add in sprints and bursts. You're going to do an exercise routine every day, but you'll also notice that Monday is a recovery day. We're going to make the workouts more intense next week. And in these workouts, remember I said we want mitochondrial hunger, glycogen depletion, so it's a lot of repetition of muscle, a lot of muscle contraction. So you are going to be fatigued, and that's why you deserve a day to recover. But that doesn't mean a day where you do nothing. It's a day where you do something fun. It's a day where you play. So, if you're somebody who doesn't normally take an exercise class, you might do one that day. If you want to get adventurous and take a yoga class, you might take one that day. Wait a minute, Phil. Health clubs are closed. Now, come on. Health clubs are closed. You can do classes on your television, on your phone, on your computer all day long. Biohackers. You've seen Kristen and Angelica and Aileen and once in a while Ryan. You've seen what they do. You just do it along. So on that day that says recover, it doesn't mean stay in bed. It means just give your muscles a little break from what they've been doing all week long. You're going to have 4 daily meals, predominantly protein and fibrous vegetables, except on that super compensation day, which you're going to love, love, love. Continue to supplement the way you have been supplementing. And for mindset, you will use, Debbie Nyman just said, yoga with Kristen, and I say yes to that. Mindset, use the manifesting tool daily. This is your very new best friend. I've given you a lot of best friends from week to week. This is your best friend this week. And it's going to remain a very, very close family member, this manifesting tool. Try to get at least 6, better 7, ideally 8 hours of sleep, and drink plenty of water for most of you, probably more than you have been. Okay. At the end of each day before you go to bed, this is where you really have the opportunity to program the subconscious. Now, I want you to think about any hypnosis or guided imagery or mental programming. It's always done in a state of relaxation because in your waking state, you are fully in your neocortex. You're fully in your conscious mind. If we want to program the subconscious, we've got to get through to it. And your subconscious is what creates dreams. Like, I don't know if anybody else has really crazy, bizarre dreams, but I sometimes laugh. I go, how did my brain come up with that? But it's beneath the conscious level. I mean, there's imagery and there's representation and there's messages and there's a lot of stuff other than words because that's your subconscious mind. So going into or toward the sleep state is your greatest opportunity to program the subconscious. So this is an exercise, and Ariel gave you a version of it today, that I want you to do every night for at least 10 minutes. If you're not somebody who meditates, at first you're going to go, this is weird, and do it 2 or 3 times, and you're going to look forward to it. I'm promising you that. So you start seated with your eyes closed, and you're breathing deep, and the whole idea is you're opening the gateway to your subconscious. If there's such a thing as a collective subconscious, then it is a whole world that exists where we all connect. It is a world of quantum. And it is a world where we plant the seeds for manifesting. So you've got to get into that state of pure relaxation. The meditations you've been doing with Ariel, the awareness of the chakras, all of this is moving you toward that. So, end of the day, you're not checking emails, you're not flipping channels, you really just go to a place of quiet and you sit with your eyes closed and you breathe. Now, we're not asking you to just quiet your brain and do nothing. You're going to do something. You're going to move light. So when you feel like you're tranquil, relaxed, you start to create in your mind a large ball of light. Now, light metaphorically should represent life force, and life force is the animating power that fills every cell in your body. And if somebody were to live in a cave or a cubicle every day, they have less life force than Jim Beatty does when he's climbing mountains, and that's a fact. So you don't always have to be outside to get life force, but assuring yourself at a subconscious level that you can draw in power changes your programming. So you are taking control of this light. So you close your eyes, and you're envisioning this ball of light growing over the crown of your skull. And when you feel ready, you draw the light in through your skull, and you let it move through all of the neural connections, all of the bridges in your brain, and you just feel it lighting everything up, and this is life force pouring into your body. And as it goes, it's just erasing, getting rid of any negativity. It's creating new pathways, stronger pathways. And you keep this going so that it then moves down your neck, through your shoulders, and it finds its way into your heart space. And then you become very aware of your heart beating. And every time your heart beats, this life force is circulating through your arteries. And with your eyes closed in a relaxed state, you're feeling that you have power to direct life force into your body as it continues down into your hips, into your pelvic area, down your legs, until ultimately you are fully engulfed in this light inside and out. And it is a beautiful feeling because it is a feeling of connection and it is a feeling of power. And as you continue this, you literally become the light. Now, when I say that to your conscious mind, you reject it because right now you're not in a meditative state. So you go, how can I become the light field? But when you follow this, if I were really taking you through this exercise, I promise you become the light. Your consciousness, whatever it is that you call you, becomes this light. In that moment, if I say, what are you? You go, I am light. Again, in the conscious mind of the conscious world, people go, no, you're crazy. But in this state of the subconscious, become light. What a beautiful thing to become. And now, as you are this ball of light, you literally look up at your future memory. Now, this is the future memory you created. This is the future memory that you've been writing about in your journal. So it's very easy for you to access it. And you look at it, and it's up on a 45-degree angle. If you remember that creative tension illustration, you're sitting in your circle looking up at the rectangle. And you remember I told you that line that runs between the circle and the rectangle, where you are and where you want to be, is like a bungee cord? Well, that bungee cord pulls the light right up there. You just fly up there. And then you're in your future memory. And you feel the joy. You feel what it feels like to be in it. And then you go to sleep. Listen, I studied exercise physiology. I became a personal trainer. I would assess people's heart rate and blood pressure and muscle mass and strength and flexibility. And the truth is, I wasn't really getting great results for everybody. It was only when I learned to tie all of this together, brain, immune system, gut, mind, spirit, and cell, that I'm delivering results for everybody. And the trainers who work with me are delivering results for everybody. And your coaches are here because they deliver results for everybody. So trust that I'm including this because it is powerful, and I'm including it at the end because it is the most powerful way to end your day. So if you want to understand this for a moment intellectually, the light opens the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is where in your brain you create possibility. So if you want to go, I can't become light and I can't travel up a bungee cord, well, your subconscious mind can. And when your subconscious mind does, the prefrontal cortex goes, well, this is possible. When you travel along the line of pull, your subconscious mind responds really well to metaphors. That traveling, those are the actions that you take that connect thought and outcome. This is not woo-woo. This is science. This is neuroscience. So the experience of joy, the true experience of joy in the conscious is the outcome. Now you'll see on the tool that I'm giving you in the upper left, you see these little icons because every day you want to laugh and love and listen to frequencies, listen to music, listen to laughter, listen to sounds that make you feel good. All right, we're halfway through. Beginning next week, I'm not going to say this anymore because I'm going to feel like, okay, we're too far in. But right now, anyone you know will be able to get the recording of tonight. Anyone you know just needs a little bit of coaxing from you. Anyone you know who could use a little change in their life for the better, invite them into this group. The cost to you, $0, and the cost to them, $0. So really, everybody you know, just go to the 55 Days page and invite them in, because after this week, I think we're about done with recruiting. Here is your prescription for the week. Let's see, were there any questions? I see there's a lot of chat here, but if there's a specific question or comment or something you want me to pay attention to or share now, I will. Adele says vitamin C out of stock everywhere. Kristen got a vitamin C IV today. Kristen, do you smell like vitamins yet? Adele says she lives in North Carolina, so when the time is right, you can take a drive over to south of the border. All right, you can get vitamin C. Don't buy a brand that you never heard of, honestly, because there are a lot of people capitalizing on the demand. There are a lot of different brands, and I'm not really giving you a recommendation. I'm just telling you that I just picked up Now is the brand. C1000 antioxidant protection with 100 milligrams of bioflavonoids, 250 caps, and I got it on Amazon. They were out of stock, and then I checked, and then one day it said it will arrive May 4th, and sure enough, it arrived today, and I think that was in April. So in the meantime, you could get citrus fruits and get your vitamin C. All right, so here's your prescription for the week. Have fun. But that doesn't mean take this light. Full engagement, all in. For some of you, you have nothing else to focus on. Or you have things to focus on that are making you crazy, like your kids in school at home. That's not fun. I know. It's not. So fully engage in this. Follow the protein days. Enjoy the supercompensation day. Do your aerobic exercise with staggered intensity as I laid it out. Don't just stop when you're at a high intensity. Always make sure you cool down until your heart rate is down 90 or below. Meditate. Try that line of pull light meditation that I just shared with you and Ariel touched on today. This doesn't mean it's time to start popping in sugars and alcohol because you have a supercompensation day this week. No energy disruptors at all. Use the new tool for manifesting. Supplements, water, sleep, laugh, love, and listen. Post in the group, watch the shows, talk to your coaches. Until we speak again, have a great night, a great tomorrow, and be better, everybody. Bye-bye.